This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Tonight, President Trump, most admired man in 2020. Bad news for Barack and for the media. With us this evening, Daniel Greenfield, Shillman Fellow at the David Horowitz Freedom Center and the editor and writer of the blog The Point at frontpagemag.com. Daniel, welcome back to the Glazov Gang.
Thank you. Good to be back.
The title and teaser of this show, of course, is credited to your blog that you wrote on this very topic recently. Daniel, President Trump, most admired by Americans. Wow, tell us about it.
Well, the media has been telling us nonstop that President Trump is the worst human being on earth, that everybody absolutely hates him. And yet we see when the Gallup poll's own rankings came out, President Trump is at the top and Biden scores with only 6% of Americans. Only 6% of Americans list Joe Biden as the most admired man, which is really, really unusual because, you know, if Biden actually won that election, you would think a majority of Americans would think that he's a good person and that he's admirable, yet he comes in at only 6%, not 50%, not 40%, not 25%, not even 10%, 6%.
You know, I have to even wonder who these 6% are. Like, this is a guy waving to empty fields. He's calling Kamala Harris the president-elect. He's been boasting about kids rubbing the hairs on his legs in the pool. Who are these 6%? And I'm not saying that they're deplorables. It's just a question.
Well, you know, everybody has a fan base. Hillary has a fan base. It's strange, it's surreal, but there's a fan base. But Hillary's fan base is always somewhat comprehensible because it's these kinds of urban old women who identify with her very much. With Biden, I'm not sure who are the people who identify with Joe Biden. Are we talking about 80-year-old men with a very strange history with women who can't stop touching women and are doing business with China? You know, I'm not sure who exactly the Biden demographic is. I think even the pollsters who have been completely predicting that Biden is absolutely popular can't actually find a Biden demographic. There is no Biden demographic.
But Daniel, how did, it doesn't add up that he won the election, right?
And this guy is ridiculously unpopular. He barely got through the Democrat primaries, and he got through them only for two reasons. First of all, he managed to secure the black vote, largely because Bernie Sanders is about as appealing to black people as mayonnaise. And two, once it was clear that the field was solidifying, everybody else dropped out and endorsed Biden. And even so, they basically had to carry him across the finish line. At this point, he's the most admired man by 6% of Americans. In all fairness, Bernie is down there at 1%. So Bernie is finally the 1%. These people have absolutely no appeal to the majority of Americans. But the bottom line is the Democrats were not running Joe Biden as their candidate. They were running against Trump. And they'd spent 4 years sliming, smearing, attacking, and trying to destroy President Trump in every way possible. So this poll is also a validation for President Trump, but it's also a sign of just how the Democrats really did not run anything like a normal campaign where they put up a candidate and say, this is the guy who you should like. Instead, they put up President Trump there as the guy you should hate. They just had this endless 4-year hate that they ran nonstop. And even the Gallup poll shows the limitations of that hate.
Incredible. After all of this hate, you know, this poll shows that President Trump is the most admired man in America in 2020. Wow. And he's edged out Obama. So I got to ask, we know Obama has a tremendous ego. How do you think he feels knowing that Trump is more popular and more admired than he is?
Around this election, Obama came out of hiding. He began doing constant interviews, and there were all these flattering puff pieces in the media. And there was a sense of he's trying to get back on the horse again. And if Biden gets in, it'll be his third term. So Obama definitely wants the limelight. He wants the spotlight. Yet at the same time, the Democrats are moving on beyond him. If you recall back to 2008, and you had these crowd swooning for him, and he was a rock star, and he was at the center of this unprecedented Lenin-esque kind of campaign. And even toward the end of his second term, he was already this kind of lame duck figure, and Democrats really had lost enthusiasm for him. That's what these numbers will reflect. Democrats are increasingly less interested in Obama. His cult of personality is very much faded. And here's the other thing, which is Democrats are becoming increasingly radicalized and moving even further to the left, which means that a guy like Obama, who was the furthest extreme back in 2008, now actually strikes them as being too moderate, because he comes out and says, you shouldn't actually call for defunding the police. It's not a helpful slogan, but they absolutely want to call for defunding the police.
I'm very interested in this. You wrote about it in your blog about how the radicals are rising, and you write about how, you say, just ask Dianne Feinstein or Nancy Pelosi, this is no country for old radicals. So what does that mean?
Well, as they used to say in the French Revolution, the revolution eats its own. The people who used to be radical, used to be edgy, they become out of step. I mean, if you look back at Obama, back in the day, he was running and claiming to be opposed to gay marriage. Now, having that kind of position is absolutely politically terminal. So the things that were radical a decade ago are now absolutely passé and downright conservative. Conservatives like to say that JFK, if he were alive today, would be a Republican. But JFK was edgy back in the day, which means that the bar keeps moving forward and forward in a very bad direction. Now somebody like AOC is a media star, much more so than Obama was. When Obama tweets something, it drives far less of a dialogue or a conversation than when AOC tweets something. And AOC at some point, there's already a push to kind of push her out, accuse her of being a sellout, accuse her of not being far enough, because as America radicalizes, as the left radicalizes, this process accelerates. So it took maybe, let's say, under 10 years for Obama to start seeming passé. With AOC, it took a few years for this kind of push to get underway. And whoever replaces her is going to be displaced even faster, because the left is becoming more and more radical, and the speed at which it's radicalizing is increasing. It's like a race over the cliff.
Wow. So look, no surprise, of course, that President Trump is the most admired man by with Americans in 2020. We've done lots of shows, and we will continue to do them on all of his great successes and everything he's done for this country. We're praying for some kind of miracle that the election steal and election fraud can still be exposed. And, I believe that Trump won by a landslide. Hopefully something can happen still. But we've discussed that, Daniel. What I want to end with here is this tragedy that despite this poll and all common sense, hypothetically, if Biden gets in, how do you see things emerging? I think he gets pushed aside pretty quickly and Kamala comes in. What do you see as happening?
It's weekend at Bernie's. This is a guy that the people behind the scenes are dragging around, propping up, moving from one press conference to another. So, there are two elements there. First of all, obviously, the Biden family is deeply in hock financially to all sorts of special interests, including in China. So they're going to want their piece. Now, the left obviously is very much ascendant, and they want their place in the sun. And you've got two people at the top of this ticket, Biden and Kamala Harris, who are not really associated with the hard left. The closest Kamala Harris comes to that is her sister Maya, who's with the ACLU and is very far left. Biden and Kamala are both kind of completely transactional, apolitical politicians. They're absolutely for sale, and they've made no secret of being for sale, which means this is going to be the most corrupt mess you've ever seen. But meanwhile, the left is going to be going to war. They've already been going to war to some degree, and they're going to be trying to take them down, trying to get them under control, which means the Democrats are just really beginning their civil war, and that's going to be spectacular.
Well, we might as well get our popcorn as the ship sinks, and that's a bit depressing, but let me just finish with this here. Daniel, when I think of Kamala Harris, I think of Hillary Clinton as well. There's something going on with their laugh. You know, my dad studied a lot of this in terms of laughter, and he talked to me a lot about the laughter of the demons, of the devils in Brothers Karamazov's novel. And there's a certain, you know, there's a joyous laughter, there's a divine laughter, there's a laughter that reveals something beautiful from the Lord, but there's also a demonic laugh. What do you make of Kamala's laugh and of Hillary's laugh? There's something kind of frightening there.
There's nobody home. That's what we're seeing when they laugh. I mean, when normal people laugh, it's authentic. It breaks down defense mechanisms. It shows authenticity. They're trying to show authenticity when they laugh, but they can't show it because the laugh is fake. They're fake. There's really nothing there. These are people who have sold their souls to climb the political ladder. Whoever they were, whoever they might have been, is completely absent. It's completely gone there. They're really vessels for power. They're aspiring to get to power. That's what they have spent all their lives doing. There's really nothing there. I mean, you think about Hillary Clinton, what has her life amounted to? It's amounted to this desperate push to get into the White House, which, you know, she only was able to do by marrying Bill Clinton and accepting all his abuses. And look at Kamala Harris. There are no children there. At her age, she's unlikely to have any children. She's dedicated her whole life to power, including sleeping with Roy Brown at a very young age, which, you know, much like Bill Clinton, it's just this disgusting, depraved thing you do just to get closer to power. And now that Kamala Harris is this close to power, she's right there behind Biden, and she's got to put up with him and suffer him until he's shoved aside. So they've made this kind of really transactional devil's bargain. They've had to do disgusting things to get here, and yet they're still not even there. They don't actually have the power that they want. It's all empty.
Some kind of very morbid, dark comedy in some kind of swamp. Or maybe not a comedy, but a tragedy. Daniel Greenfield, thank you for your truth-telling and for your wisdom. And we wish you a very happy New Year.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you for the informed commentary and the dialogue and our always entertaining philosophical conversations.
Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, make sure you are following Daniel Greenfield at his blog, The Point, at Front Page Magazine, where he also has fascinating articles on the home page. And we will see you soon on the Glazov Gang. Good night.